Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to our channel, and thanks for logging on. Today we're discussing the Bremont ALT-1Z/51 Zulu, sometimes known as the P51. You can see this dual-time pilot's chronograph on our website. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you enjoy these videos, and please click on the card in the upper right-hand corner of the screen at any time during this video to see our full listing for this Bremont with additional accessories included in the sale, high-resolution images for your desktop, and naturally complete pricing details for this dual-time automatic chronograph. Now on my wrist, 6 1/3 inches, 16 centimeters in circumference, there are two ways to look at this watch. The first is as a standard 43mm round watch, 43 across the round of the case, not including the crowns or chronograph pushers. The watch is also reasonably sized in terms of profile, 16.5mm, but it wears a thin 16.5 because of the slope of the case flank and the bezel. It may not translate in the video, but it really is quite tumbled with that distinctive tumble home from the case flank to the top of the sapphire. Now the watch has a broad sweep across the wrist from lug to lug, but it's not huge. 50mm is manageable, meaning this timepiece in terms of size can be worn on a wrist down to as small as I would say about 15 centimeters in circumference. But I said there are two ways to look at this watch, and the second way takes into account this enormous aviator-style calfskin leather strap. And when I say enormous, I mean there are at least 3 layers of hide here, and you can see that it actually rivals the thickness of the case itself. It is simply huge. And I'll say that this is why the watch is probably best worn in its current form on a wrist of perhaps 16 centimeters. If you were to throw this on a flexible textile, a NATO, or even a thinner leather strap, it would wear quite well on a smaller wrist. But on this strap, the simple thickness of the strap itself means that flexibility is somewhat limited, and it wants a larger wrist, not a smaller one. But the quality, the feel, the texture, and the appearance is first rate. It really does have a very substantial vintage effect. Let me change my focal plane here. Now you can see on the underside it is very soft, very supple, Bremont branded, so this is all factory. And it's paired with a substantial double deployant Bremont twin trigger clasp. Now you can see the triggers keep this quite secure when closed. That's always nice on a very heavy steel sports watch, and you do have to depress both triggers to open the clasp, so you get the security of a full deployant when donning the watch or removing it bedside. You can't accidentally drop it thanks to the continuous loop formed by the deployant clasp. As you can see, a very impressive strap, and it does have conforming spring bars that close the gap to the flank of the case and actually trace the arc of the case itself, creating a more integrated aesthetic. The watch has a very complex case. You can see it has these large vaulted lugs that sort of drape the side, strong horizontal character lines, what Bremont calls its Trip-Tic DLC coating along the flanks, and it sort of sits underneath the sweep of the lugs as they run from side to side, with the bezel itself acting as a cap to the case. It's an interesting form, it's definitely different, and as far as I can see, Bremont is the only company using this particular style, and to good effect. It's quite distinctive. Now, in terms of what you get within the watch, you actually get a bidirectional rotating internal bezel. So in true aviator's GMT fashion, if you do want to line up the index of the bezel with the 24-hour reference hand and you have it set to GMT, you can then offset as per your local arrival airport and find 3 simultaneous time zones. The dial features a vintage appearance befitting its billing as the P-51, the old-time fighter aircraft, of course, from the 1940s and 50s. Although you might say 60s and 70s in some Latin American air forces, is evoked by the vintage look. Matte black, simulated aged lume via an Acrew superluminova that looks like old-time radium that's aged. However, it glows brilliantly like modern-day luminova paint should. Now, the watch features a very clear dial in spite of the number of indications being given. You have civil time, hours, minutes, and seconds. You have that second time zone via a 24-hour hand that makes 1 circuit of the dial per 24 hours. You have a date, and of course you have a tri-register chronograph with chronograph seconds, chronograph hours, and chronograph minutes. A lot going on, but again, because of the 43mm case size and the maximized dial, they use most of the real estate of this watch. It's very easy to read, very clear, and it has a little bit of a vintage vibe. Now on the case back, you have what is essentially a Valjoux ETA caliber 7754. Now, Bremont calls this the BE54E, but it's a 7754. Nicely finished and in a chronometer grade. You get the higher grade drivetrain, you get the higher grade balance, regulator, and hairspring, plus a little bit of customization done during the final assembly and tuning of the watch at Bremont in England. So it is an English-made watch, although the bones of the movement are very much Swiss. It also has a 42-hour power reserve, hacking when you pull the crown, you stop the balance, halt the seconds, synchronized to a known accurate reference time. It does feature a quick set system for both the hour hand and the date. You can rapidly cycle the 24-hour hand and the date by rotating the crown in different directions in the second position. And it features 100-meter water resistance, so although it is a pilot's watch, it does have the ability to get wet and wild without fear this holiday season during your vacation or during the summer to come. You can see and you can purchase this Bremont ALT-1Z P51 Zulu on our website.